And now we're on our second subtopic. And this time we're going to talk about Excel functions for basic statistics and data processing. Okay, so as you can see here, we cannot list down everything. There are so many Excel functions. And I just tried to select a few categories that most likely we are going to encounter when we do data analytics or as simple as data analysis. By the way, the difference, just in case you haven't realized in the previous talk or part of the talk, data analysis is the main part of data analytics. Okay, so data analytics basically is the applied analysis. So you apply this within the context of your business, your industry, or in your academe or whatever. Okay, so basically somewhat like advanced and applied data analysis. That's data analytics. Okay, so these are some of the functions that most of us are going to encounter when we do data analytics. So I just try to um, select the most common ones. So the first one is sorting. So as the name implies, sorting. We once we have the data, especially if we have a complex data set like this, it's very important to know how to sort your data. Okay, so Excel, good thing Excel has, or there are several ways to do this in Excel, and one of which is the one being shown here. We don't need any formula. We just need to click some buttons like this sort button, or just if you have this one, these buttons here. When we create a table, we can actually click this to sort also. But more than that, we can also use these buttons to filter. Okay, so for example, there are some entries that you want to highlight. So you hide everything else except for that part. So as you can see, we can uncheck those that we don't want to see so that we can view the important ones better. Okay. And also, it's nice to have a summary table like this. Okay, based on your data, the complex data set, you can come up with the total, the frequency count, the average or mean, and so on. Okay, so we can make use of Excel form function for that, so that we can have a summary table. Also, when we are accepting inputs, when we are doing some data entries, it will be a big help if we can provide some data validation. Okay, so this is another thing. Um, as you can see here, we can specify a certain range of answers or values so that this range will be the only ones to be accepted in the specified cells like this. So in this cell, for example, we specified that the possible values are only within this range. Okay, so we can do that actually. This is one way to make sure our data is clean, our data set is clean, right? Also, to help you analyze your data more systematically, it will be nice that we provide some conditional formatting. Like if it's below 60, below a certain number, it will turn red. Or in this case, we can highlight the highest, top one, the second highest, the third highest, fourth highest, and so on. Okay, using this conditional formatting function of Excel. Okay, and for more advanced tables, we can have a lookup table. We can make use of a lookup table. So among these six, this one requires a formula. Okay, we make use of the lookup function to, as you can see, for example, here, if we select a certain name from this range, the corresponding data like the marks result and the roll number will come out here. So this is something very useful even for simple business operations or for even in the academy. So these are some of just these are just some of the common Excel functions, especially if you are doing basic statistics and data processing. Okay, and more of these or some of these will be explored more in the videos that we're going to present or highlight after this part of the talk. Okay, so okay, you can take a screenshot of these formatting functions, especially for data formatting and for data cleaning and pre-processing. Okay, so for example, we have the trim and clean functions. So these are intended to remove extra spaces and non-printable characters to standardize text data. So how do we use that? We simply type equals trim, and then inside there we use the another function clean, and then the cell that you want to trim and clean. So as simple as that. And maybe you'll see in our video later how this one works. So another thing is we can also do use these functions that converts data types between text, numeric formats, and date formats. Okay, so text function, for example, if you want to convert something like a number into a text, then we use this formula. And then value or date value. Okay, but sometimes we are doing conversions or decision making, like if this one happens, then this one will be what we're doing. So conditional statements. So these examples are the ones that handle conditional data correction, replacement, and error handling. Okay, and sometimes if you want to extract or isolate parts of text for standardization or feature extraction, then we can make use of these functions. Or sometimes, if you want to find the unique items within our data set, we can make use of the unique function or formula. So it helps us eliminate redundant entries to maintain data set integrity. So this is also part of data cleaning. Okay. Sometimes there are values that are located in different columns. So we need to, if we need to combine them or concatenate them into a single cell, then we can use this one, concat or concatenate. And here's how we use it. Okay. By the way, when you see A1, A2, B1, B2, those are the specific cells that where we want the formula to be applied. Okay. Also, when we want to make or transform the text into its uppercase or lowercase or to proper case, then we can make use of proper, upper, or lower. So proper means the first letter is being capitalized or in uppercase, and then the rest are in lowercase. Okay, but if you want everything to be in all caps or uppercase, then we use upper. Or if you want in lowercase, then you use lower. Okay, I hope I'm just doing this in the right. No, I hope the pacing is just right for you. But in case you find it too fast, actually you can rewind. Feel free to rewind our video. Okay. Now, I'll try to make it as simple as possible. So this one is quite too complex, but I tried to connect the dots in as simple as in the simplest way possible. Okay. So when we say statistics, there are two main types actually. We can be referring to descriptive statistics, where we are just describing the results. We are just describing what has happened. Okay, like what we do in descriptive analytics. Okay, and the other one is the inferential statistics. We're going to talk about that in a while. Now, when we say descriptive statistics, maybe we are referring to the measure of central tendency, and that's our median mode. Or we are talking about how spread the data is. We want to measure the data's variability. Okay, so we can derive the range, the variance, standard deviation, or the IQR. But also sometimes we want to visualize our data set just to see how the data is spread. Okay, or we want to see the frequency distribution of our data. So the most common ways to do that is by using histogram, boxplot, and pie chart. In our third part, we're going to talk about these things. Okay, or these visualization tools. Okay, now as you can see, one of our in analytics, especially in when we are doing statistical treatment or hypothesis testing, um, one of the most important things that we have to check first is the normality of data. When we say normal, it is something balanced. It has no skew. Okay, and one of the most obvious indication of that is when our mean, median, and mode do not differ significantly from each other. Or in other words, if they are equal or at least almost equal, then you can say there's no skew, and most likely only, most likely it will be considered normal. So what's the big deal with normality? Because if our data set is not normal, then we cannot make use of the basic statistical operations, which we call parametric statistics, parametric statistical tests. Okay. In other words, if our data is not normal, if it is either a positive skew or negative skew or a more complicated type of skew, then we can only use non-parametric statistical tests, which are complicated and mostly not available on Excel. Okay, again, the tools that we often see in Excel are parametric tests, and we can only make use of them, or they are only accurate. That's why we can use them if our data is normal. And one of the early signs, one meaning not only. One of the early signs that our data is normal is when the mean, median, and mode are equal or at least almost equal to each other. Okay. On the other hand, we have the terms kurtosis. So just for ano lang, just so you know, kurtosis means how well spread our data is. So meaning that there's a big deviation from the center or there's only a very small deviation, or just right, meaning the data is well spread from the lowest up to the highest. Okay, so these are some of the one of the reasons why we perform descriptive statistics, aside from, of course, describing what has happened. Okay, so meaning if you want to do inferential statistics, it's best that you do first descriptive statistics because we want to make sure our data is normal. Okay, and then good thing in Excel, we can uh, we can now make use of a certain tool called Data Analysis Tool Pack, So we have a video later that will show how do you activate it on your Excel. So once you activate this, you can select among these statistical tests or analysis tools available in Excel. Okay, so once you select for example, descriptive statistics, so this one will pop up. Okay, so here you only have to select the cells where you want the descriptive statistics to be performed. Okay, and whether those cells are arranged in columns or in rows. So mostly in columns. And if you include the header or the label in the first row, then you have to check this. Okay. And if you want a specific cell where you want the results to come out, like this one is the expected result. So in just a few clicks and types, you can come up with this instant descriptive statistics table. Okay, so wherever you want this result to come out, just specify this uh, in this part. Okay, you only have to specify it here. And then also very important to check the summary statistics, or maybe you can also check the other ones here. But the most important one is the summary statistics. Okay, and once you click OK, then this one will come out in your selected cell. And we have a video showing how it works. Okay, and that's for our descriptive stat. Now, there are some, okay, I forgot. Yes, this is still part of data cleaning and pre-processing, although this is more on statistical part already. Okay, so we have some functions that are more important in doing when we are doing statistical tests or statistical analysis. So we have the average, if you want to find the arithmetic mean, the median or the middle value, the mode. Some data sets have single mode, some have multiple modes. Also, we have the standard deviation and the variance. Each of these has um, whether we are doing this in a sample or in a population. So we can choose among the two. Okay, the result is very minimal, but to some that are more technical, more particular, that small difference is big enough. Okay, so, but for beginners, you can basically just choose population. Okay, it depends on your context actually. Okay. Now, also, if you want to find the range, you can just find the minimum and the maximum values in your data set first, and then just subtract them from each other, or take their difference. Or maybe you just want to count the values in your data cells, or you want to count only the cells within the those that meet a specific condition, then you can use these functions also. Okay, you can take a screenshot of it. And now, when it comes to inferential statistics, one of the things that we do is hypothesis testing. Okay, one of the reasons why we do inferential statistics is because we want to test whether our hypothesis is acceptable or not. Okay, so this is what I was talking about a while ago. So when we do hypothesis testing, the very first thing that we check is whether our data follows a normal distribution. Normal means something like this. There's no skew. Okay, so if our data is normal, yes, then we can use the parameter test, especially those that are available in Excel. But if not, we have no choice but to choose non-parametric tests, and most of these, if not all, are not available on Excel, or there's no shortcut, or we can do this in a harder way compared to those considered parametric. Okay, so assuming our data is normal, so we do parametric test. The next question is how many samples? Okay, so if it's only one, the next question is do you know the variance? If yes, then we can choose z-test. But if not, then our only choice is t-test. Okay, so there are many other questions like what's the type of analysis are we doing? Do we want to measure the relationship or the correlation between the variables? Then we do correlation analysis. Or we just want to compare, we want to check if there's a significant difference among groups, among two scenarios or situations. Then we can do this one. Either two-group test or paired t-test, depending on whether our samples are paired or not. Okay, so what's next? Right. So I'm not going to talk about non-parametric tests, by the way, since most of them are not available on Excel. Oh, no, 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 no. Uh, okay, there's one more thing before we end this part. Okay, so I mentioned hypothesis. All right. So we actually have two types of hypothesis, the null and the alternative hypothesis. So um, I have to make it short. So when we do hypothesis testing, we have to make it clear, check whether are we doing a two-tailed test or a one-tailed test. Okay, two-tailed test, normally the null hypothesis says there is no significant difference in something. In the things, in the two things, two or more, in the two things that we are comparing, there is no significant difference. That's the conventional start of the hypothesis. Okay, no significant difference. So if our measurement, if our statistic, the one that we are going to compute, falls within this area, then we accept that null hypothesis. Otherwise, we reject them. If they fall on these critical regions, which we call the tail, okay? Meaning if they fall on the tails, then we reject or we do not accept the null hypothesis. Or um, okay, sometimes one tail test, usually one tail test, if the null hypothesis says something like less than or greater than, so uh, something that indicates inequality. Okay, so one tail test, right? So we have an example here. Uh, Specifically, it is a t-test, paired t-test of two sample for means. Okay, so using the one I mentioned a while ago, the data analysis toolpack of Excel, we can come up actually with an instant t-test, paired t-test result for this. And the problem is, what do we do with this? Okay, so here's a very quick explanation or illustration. Imagine, assuming we are handling a normal data distribution. So this is a normal curve, what we call a normal curve. And if our t-stat falls within this range from negative 2.06 up to 2.06, then we accept the null hypothesis, which says there's no significant difference in something that we compare. Okay, so now you can, although all of the things here are important, what I just want to highlight for this talk are these cells, this part of the results, the t-stat and the p-value and the t-critical value of two tails. That's why I mentioned a while ago, we have to check whether we are conducting a two-tail test or a one-tail test because the results are different. Okay, so if we are doing a two-tail test, then we look at this. Um, values only. Okay. Now, so since we are doing a two-tailed test, meaning we do have two limits, boundaries. So those are positive 2.06, that's this one, and negative 2.06, this one. Okay, so meaning these boundaries define our acceptance region. Okay, but as you can see, the t-stat is negative 6.49. So if you're going to locate that in our normal distribution curve, it's very far to the left, negative 6.45, because this is negative 2.06. So that only means it falls outside our acceptance region, which means we reject the null hypothesis. Okay? So in other words, since we reject the null hypothesis, it only means, okay, it's here. We are comparing the T critical and the T stat. So we reject the null hypothesis, which means there is a significant difference. Okay, so whether regardless of what you are comparing, maybe the result of section A and the results of section B, or the sales in the morning, sales in the afternoon shifts, or the performance of this of branch A and the performance of branch B. Okay, but if this is a paired t-test, by the way, this is the most likely the before and after. So before the changes that you do, like before implementing this new service or this new technology, this new feature in your business, so you take measurements. You have a pre-test and a post-test. Okay, so that's the paired t-test. So if you want to see if there's a difference, then you do this. So if that's the case, since we reject the null hypothesis, that means there is a significant difference between the before and the after. Okay, so for example, if we implemented a new service, then before the service and after, there is a big difference or a significant difference. Okay, now another way to check that is using our p-value. So our p-value is being compared to our significance level, which is by default 0.05. So as you can see, 1.02 times 10 raised to negative 6 is way smaller than 0.05, meaning that's the height of this portion, either this one or this one. Okay, so um, if that it does not exceed our significance level, that it only means it's on the lower part, which is outside our acceptance region, either here or here. So 1.025 times 10 to raised to negative 6 is way smaller, so we reject also. So that's another way to look at the results and interpret whether we reject or accept the null hypothesis. Okay, I tried to explain it in the shortest way and simplest way possible. I hope you've learned something. So that's it for our part two. So we have another evaluation form, kindly scan. And if again, if you have questions, feel free to ask them in the question box or in the comment box, comment section, or you can type it down in our evaluation form, right? So as you complete this form, you can also watch these videos.